You know, in today's conflicts, the most powerful weapons aren't just missiles and jets anymore. They're viral clips, their data pipelines, and their algorithms. The whole battlefield is changing faster than ever. And in this explainer, we're going to dive into how the very rules of war are being rewritten right in front of our eyes.
So, the first front line in this new kind of war, it isn't on the ground, it's online. You open up social media and you're just hit with this tidal wave of footage. It is a completely overwhelming deluge of information that makes trying to figure out what's real and what's propaganda a nearly impossible task.
But every now and then, a single, powerful moment can just cut through all that noise. Take this quote right here from U.S. Marine veteran Brian McGinnis during a congressional hearing. His protest and the video of him being forcefully removed that went absolutely viral, it became this symbol of dissent that echoed way, way beyond the front lines.
But that one viral clip, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. See, for every one moment like that that gets verified, there are thousands of other unverified claims and counterclaims floating around. It's this constant, draining battle for truth, where even the experts are struggling to keep up. And this isn't just some sideshow, it's a core part of modern warfare strategy.
Okay, so let's shift gears from the information war to the physical one. Because on paper, this whole thing should be a total mismatch, right? The US and its allies have this overwhelming military superiority. And yet, Iran is proving to be a pretty formidable opponent. So the real question is, how?
This is the big puzzle at the heart of this conflict. Iran knows it can't win a conventional head-to-head war. It's not about matching tank for tank or jet for jet. Nope. It's about a completely different kind of warfare, one that's designed to turn an opponent's greatest strength into their biggest weakness.
And the answer lies in a strategy called asymmetric warfare. So instead of getting into a big, costly, head-on fight, the goal is to find your opponent's pressure points and just squeeze. Iran is surgically targeting the most expensive, most critical U.S. assets to inflict the maximum amount of pain with the minimum amount of resources.
So, is it effective? Well, get this. In just the first 6 days of the conflict, the U.S. lost an estimated $2 billion in military hardware. That's not just a number, it's a stunning validation of this whole asymmetric strategy.
So where did all those costs come from? Well, Iran wasn't just firing randomly. No, they were strategically trying to blind the U.S. military. They destroyed a $1 billion early warning radar in Qatar. They took out a key part of the THAAD missile system, that's the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense in the UAE. And they severed vital communication links in Bahrain. Each one of these strikes was designed to cripple America's ability to see, to talk, and to defend itself.
But here's where the story gets really strange. While the Pentagon was reeling from these massive strategic losses, the official message coming out of Washington was one of total, complete victory. You had President Trump even rating the operation a 15 out of 10. It just creates this huge disconnect between the reality on the battlefield and the political story being told.
Now, this conflict isn't just staying put in one region. It's starting to spill over its borders, creating new and really dangerous flashpoints in some pretty unexpected corners of the globe.
So while the whole world has its eyes glued to West Asia, the actual front line has quietly shifted thousands of miles away. Suddenly, the Indian Ocean has become this unexpected and incredibly volatile new theater of war.
And to see what that really means, just look at the story of this one Iranian warship, the Dana. It starts its journey as a symbol of diplomacy, right? Taking part in a friendly naval exercise with India. But just weeks later, while it's sailing home through international waters, it gets sunk by a U.S. torpedo. Now, this wasn't just any attack. It was the first time an enemy ship had been sunk by a U.S. submarine torpedo since World War II. A quiet, but absolutely monumental escalation. But what happened next is just as important. The U.S. submarine didn't stick around. It just attacked and left. And this hit-and-run tactic, well, it raises some serious questions. It could even be a violation of the Geneva Convention, which requires ships to rescue survivors after an attack. It signals a potential shift in how the U.S. is approaching the long-standing laws of war.
So, we've talked about viral clips, we've talked about hardware, and expanding battlefields. But maybe the most important front in this whole conflict is being fought on an invisible digital battlefield, where the most powerful weapons aren't made of steel, but of code.
Yeah, because in this new era of warfare, the most decisive weapons aren't necessarily the ones that go boom. They're the ones that process information at speeds that are, well, frankly, they're superhuman.
So here's how it basically works. First, you have AI software, something like Palantir, just hoovering up these massive amounts of intelligence data. Then, the algorithms sift through all of it, identifying potential targets way faster than any human brain ever could, and they serve them up to military operators. The result? A job that required 2,000 intelligence personnel during the Iraq War is now being done by a tiny team of just 20. That is a staggering 99% reduction in manpower, all thanks to AI.
What you're seeing here is a fundamental shift in military power. The old arms race was about who had the most nuclear warheads or the biggest aircraft carriers. This new arms race is about who has the best software, the fastest data pipelines, and the smartest algorithms. And it's a race that has some of China's top advisors seriously worried that they are already falling dangerously behind.
So where does all of this leave us? We've seen a war that's being fought with viral clips, with clever asymmetric tactics, and with artificial intelligence. Every single one of these things is pushing the boundaries of traditional warfare, which forces us to ask a really difficult question. What are the rules in a world where war is fought at the speed of an algorithm?
And that's the central question of 21st century warfare, isn't it? When the line between a civilian tech company and a weapons manufacturer just blurs, and when life and death decisions are being accelerated by algorithms, the legal frameworks that have governed conflict for generations, they just start to crumble. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the new and deeply unsettling reality of war.